I am grateful beyond words for everything that organization has done for me.
Brad Marchand is a Panther. He had his first availability this morning with the Florida press. Here is just a little clip of it. There are a few clips out there, but not particularly good ones. He said that he holds no ill will towards the Bruins, and he added that contract negotiations for an extension with the Bees ended the day before the deadline. They did not talk the final day. So that's the background there. But here is him talking about how it all ended with Boston.
It was very disappointing that things didn't get done, just because obviously I love the organization. I wanted to stay there. But at the end of the day, I also know that business is business, and every player has a shelf life. And regardless if that's when we want it to be or not, sometimes there's things out of our control that dictate situations. If we were in the playoffs at that point in time, we'd probably be having a much different conversation. And I know that. Something we had talked about previously, but we weren't. And at that point, very tough decisions have to be made. And the one thing that I always respect, I told Don Sweeney this, is they have a job to do, and they have to make the best decisions for the team. And I completely understand where the decisions need to be made. It sometimes they work against you, but that's why I believe Sweeney is one of, if not the best general managers in the league. I watched him for a very long time, excel at his job, and for those who are in the organization and know the effort that he puts in every day, and how hard he works, no one would question where his loyalty lies, and that is to do what's best for the team every day. And when you're part of that group, you feel it sometimes. And like I said, every guy has their day, and it's obviously not what you want to have happen, but I don't hold that against him or the group. It's just part of life. It's part of the game. But also, he did create this opportunity for me to be here. So I am grateful beyond words for everything that organization has done for me.
We've got time for two more.
Apologies to Bruins fans. That cannot be easy to see. We saw enough stuff over the weekend of like renderings, and famously we painted Brad Marchand, that maybe it's less of a shock, but does that eat at you, Peter?
Yeah, I mean, the lip quivering was just kick me straight in the balls, please. It's awful. I mean, seeing it is bad enough. Hearing him be very emotional is tough to listen to. And
Andy thinks that Don Sweeney's a great GM, so now you're a little disappointed.
Be
you're
mad, be
I thought
pissed.
you were smart, buddy.
Throw him under the bus.
I'll also say this.
Does Brad Marchand not know ball?
Nothing about that sounded like a guy who thought he was going to re-sign here in the offseason.
What? Oh yeah, well that part, yeah. Well, that's what I've been saying that forever, and we'll get to it after. We're gonna hit Elliott's Saturday headlines report about everything that happened there. But once I said it way before, but it's even stronger now. Once you get a guy out of your own walls and let him experience life beyond your organization, the chances that he comes back really low, and it doesn't seem like Marchand is a sure thing to come back whatsoever. I'd be very surprised.
Just the fact that they couldn't come to terms, they became so public that they couldn't come to terms on a new contract, and that there was a gap. Marchand said that. Sweeney said that. Here's Elliott Friedman on the final days.
Just a few more things I wanted to go over from the Marchand situation. Number one, I think the Bruins and the player had agreed on term, 3 years. But as Don Sweeney said yesterday, there was a gap, and there was a gap on AAV. And I don't think he was being asked to take a pay cut or anything like that, but I do think it was a sizable gap that they obviously could not bridge. Where I think this really went sideways was there was a point this week where Brad Marchand, who was currently injured and not in the lineup, asked for a face-to-face meeting with Bruins management. I don't know exactly when it was. I don't know exactly who was there, but it did happen. And in that meeting, Brad Marchand asked for a compromise. He said, I will compromise. I will bend on some of my ask. I'm asking the Bruins to bend on some of their stance, and we'll find a way to get this deal done, because he wanted to stay as a Bruin. And it just didn't happen. The Bruins had gone as far as they were willing to go. And look, anybody out here watching hockey in the hockey world has watched Brad Marchand play. We know he's going to the Hall of Fame for one major reason. He's got an incredible amount of pride, and he puts everything on the line. I think he was really stung by that. And then all of a sudden, the Bruins started to look, okay, we're not going to go any farther. We're going to start looking out there. And I think one of the things that really happened in the last 24 to 48 hours before the deadline was that Marchand's agent, I was told by several teams, Wade Arnott, made it very clear that Marchand had a place he wanted to go. And obviously that was Florida. And in the last minutes, the Bruins acquiesced and made the deal. But so that's everything I understand there. And I think it really hurt Marchand that the face-to-face meeting couldn't get a deal done.
Okay, so credit to Don Sweeney off of that he traded him to Florida, that Florida was Marchand's preference, and he sent him there. We were both big let Brad pick whether he stays or goes. Part of that should also be let Brad pick the team to which he's traded. So good on the Bruins. They had to eat shit from us, certainly from Grinnell when he was on with us. Everybody, you only got a conditional second-round pick for your captain. What are you doing? You don't have any good players, and you're trading one of them for a conditional second-round pick in 2027 that ends up converting to 2028. Awful. I give Don Sweeney credit there. A question I ask off of it, though, why did the Bruins draw a hard line on Marchand? I have a thought on it, and it appalls me, but why do you think the Bruins, who usually are pretty good with their players, drew a hard line on him?
Usually, but there are instances with important players where they have been not so great at the end if they decide they are ready to move on, whether it's Krug, Chara, and like you can make a case that they were smart for both of those. But again, like legacy players, I'm more in the camp of just like, if they want to stay, find a way to let them stay. But to answer your question, I'm guessing it came down to asking price. And if Elliott's saying that they weren't asking him to take a pay cut, which is somewhere in the $6 million range for 3 years, I do feel like that's a fair price. And my question is, like, what is the price for Marchand that you would say, if you're Don Sweeney, can't do this? Like, what is that lowest number?
Let us get to that. My thought on the question was, this is them reacting to the Jeremy Swayman thing, where it got drawn out and eventually they lost and they moved off their line eventually. Then they had to keep moving off their line and keep moving off their line. And it went from wanting to pay him $6 to paying him $8.5 million a year. I think that with that fresh in mind, they were like, we're not doing this again. No. This is our line, because Elliott said that in that meeting, Marchand said, okay, I'm ready to compromise, move off what I want. Can you move off what you're insisting on a little bit? And the Bruins were like, no, we're not doing that. And I think that Brad Marchand is the wrong player to do that with, because it's not like you are talking about $8.5 million a year, huge money. As for what is Brad Marchand worth, he's 36 years old. So you're not giving him a super long-term deal, 3 years, as Elliott said there. He is still a 25 to 30-ish goal scorer, having played without a first-line center for the last 2 years. So he is proven to, no matter who you give him, he will produce. The Florida Panthers are sold out of Brad Marchand jerseys, at least the good ones. You see there on their website, red ones sold out. John Butchergross put a picture of the jersey in the store out, and everybody, of course, is doing vomits and all this, oh, disgusting, take it back, I never want to see it. Sean tweets, honestly want this just for when I go to Bruins games as a neutral, all-time hater jersey. Sean, I'll let you say your piece on it in a second, but as someone, I know that you find yourself at these things around Boston, and you haven't really quite found your outfit yet.
Yeah.
This would hit so hard for you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's if you're a real Bruins fan, you see that and it pisses you off immediately.
Yeah.
And that's all I want.
I will say this, if you ever wear that around me, I will find a way to rip it off your body and throw it in the garbage, or I will just I will not speak to you. I will not hang around you.
I am gonna have.
I feel like that's not turning Sean off because
No.
like you're like patient zero.
I understand. Like
of
I
like
am
Bruins fan.
I am the target demographic of the
Yes.
people that he wants to offend.
Yes.
Yes, I get it. But I'm telling you, we have a friendship. We have a relationship. You're putting it at risk and in jeopardy by that personal attack.
Don't care.
We all silly like the mayor.